Hey guys, welcome to the live stream on Friday. It's just gone after 4 p.m. here in South Africa. So as you guys know, we kind of split the weeks up. So one week will be on early in the morning for our time and a little bit later on other time. It looks like there's a bit of a delay. Let me just double check that to see if there's something we can do to fix that. And while I'm getting this sorted out, you guys can just let me know where you are tuning in from, and then it'll be great to connect like that. I just need to double check one thing because it looks like we got a little bit of a delay on the stream. So I just want to make sure if that's all good. I'll do a quick sound check for us as well, and then we can see if that's all working fine. So let me just change this. I think we should be good to go from there onwards out. I'm going to do a quick check just for a guitar tone and a track. So let me know if you can hear the guitar. And with the track, let's have a listen to that. right, cool. Let me know if that is working for you guys. Then we're going to be kicking off with the stream. I just need to do one other thing, and then we'll be going. Wonderful. So we got a couple of folks tuning in live from, let's have a look. Let's find the comment section for us. We have got, Kenan was saying he's tuning in from private office number 6, which is just down the road from our office where I'm sitting at the moment. So Kenan, great to see you on the stream here. Kenan always helps us with all the tech elements and the videos and the stream setup. So you guys can give Kenan and Jacobus and Brad a shout, helping us with all of the tech side over here for the videos. We've got Brian tuning in from Indiana, USA. We've got Larry tuning in from Grays Lake, Illinois. Sunny, that's good. We've had some interesting weather here for the last couple of days, so good to hear that it's sunny over there. We've got Ken McFerrin tuning in from Perth. Wow, it's late for you. Next week, Friday, we're going to be a couple of hours early for our Australian friends, so if you want to tune in for that, that'll be awesome. We've got Michael tuning in from Fayetteville in Arkansas. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Ken McFerrin is saying he's looking forward to new insights. We've got Auntie, one of our Academy members, another one of our Academy members, together with Larry and Brian that I saw on the stream so far, saying hi from Finland. We've got Terry from Ohio. He says everything is sounding great. And Larry saying sound is good with a big delay. Hopefully that's a guitar delay and not a live stream delay, because I somehow seemed a little bit delayed on my camera over here. Richard Meyer tuning in from Clearwater, Florida. Antonio Ortiz. Hey, Antonio, great to see you. And we've got another fellow African, Enoch, tuning in from Ghana. Well, welcome, Enoch. So cool to see you guys. Today we're going to be talking about everything as it relates to coming up with creative guitar parts. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys, because that's a big deal in order for you to kind of come up with parts that you feel good about, that you can play on Sundays without thinking too much. So let me just double check. I can bring the guitar down there a little bit, and let me just make sure that our camera is on the right setting, and then we'll be A4 away from there onwards. There's always some kind of a setting that we need to check in somewhere, in some kind of an update that kind of catches you by surprise. So we just want to quickly make sure that we are good with all of that. And there we go. That is the app I'm looking for. And we should be good now. Hopefully that solves the little bit of a delay. I think our frame rate was just a little bit off there. So we're going to be good in that sense from now onwards. All right, fantastic. Well, if you guys have any questions around coming up with guitar parts or composing creative guitar parts, feel free to pop them in the comment section there as well. Happy to help you guys out with that today. So what we want to focus on is just when it comes to playing guitar, how do you compose your own guitar's parts? And when should you play the parts as written on a recording? You know, those are kind of some interesting questions. And I am of the opinion that when you are playing a song that's like a well-known song, maybe it's something like Lion and the Lamb, then you want to play the intro line because that's very recognizable of the song. People expect to hear kind of that intro line or whatever the case may be. Those lines I typically play. If there's any real interesting parts that I feel is kind of like recognizable of the song, I'll try and emulate those on a Sunday. But for the rest of the time, I don't play note for note what the guitar parts are. And there's arguments for both sides, right? On the one side is if the church prefers that you play exactly as it is on the recording, then obviously you are there to serve as a guitar player. So whatever the need is there, and is what you kind of would need to do. My view is that you need to play like you're going to play, because you're not going to try and emulate 100% note for note a recording, because then people are really going to might as well just put on the CD, right, that was recorded. Number one. Number two, there are sometimes 6 different guitar parts that have been layered together. So how do you choose what to play? Because sometimes it's like a very cool single note line thing happening all the way up on the neck like this. But if you need to be playing all the way up there, it's going to kind of lose some of that low end, because you're going to be playing too high up on the neck, or whatever the case may be. So I'm a much more of a fan to kind of come up with parts that are your own, for the reason that you can express your playing in your voice, right? Imagine there's a pastor that heard a cool sermon around around the Ark of David and around worship and whatever the case would be. And now he wants to come and share that. He was at some leadership conference or some worship conference. He comes back home and he feels the Lord presses upon his heart to share that word, because it's going to be relevant to the congregation to learn and unpack some of those elements that he learned about that sermon. He's not going to preach that sermon word for word the way that he heard the other pastors do it. He's going to share it in his own view, and he's going to use his own words to express that. And I think that's kind of important for guitar players as well, for you to play parts that, number one, you feel comfortable with, that it's not going to be something that is a little bit outside of your skill range or outside of your stylistic preferences, so to speak, because then you're going to be focused too much on, like, I have to get this just right. I remember we played Miraculum from Lincoln Brewster at one of our Christmas services, and there's a couple of, like, really interesting guitar parts that you kind of have to get down. And the way that I played that song is I really had to focus. I had to, like, really pay attention to what I was playing. So I was, in the moment, really just focused on my playing and not making a mistake. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in worship, we want to have our attention on the Lord. We want to have our attention on the moment and not be so caught up about, well, I shouldn't make a mistake here, or I must really pay attention to this and that, and so forth. So I think for that reason, it's good for you to be able to make parts up on the fly. And then the other part of that is, it comes down to how you express and what is your voice and all those kind of things. And I think when you do that in the right way, you can come up with some pretty cool stuff. So today, I'd love to give you some of my tips for coming up with guitar parts as it relates to playing over modern worship songs. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, you need to get your tone kind of dialed in so that you know what tones you've got available and what you've got to work with. Because ultimately, if your tone is not going to sound right, if it's not going to be something that is inspiring for you, then you're probably going to not play to the best of your ability, because it's just not going to sound right. So it's very important that, like in my instance, I've got a dirty sound here. Even though there's a lot of delay, there's a lot of distortion. But I kind of know this sound of mine. So if I just need to play chords, I'd be able to play my chords. I know what it's going to sound like if it's single note lines. I know I can get those sounds going, or if I need to get I need to get some more melodic stuff, I can do that. Or maybe that sound is just too dirty and I need to get something else going, like a cleaner sound, something maybe along the lines of... I just want to add the tap of a pedal or the push of a button, be able to kind of get a sound that is going to work for what you want to do. So that's the first thing. Just get your tone right. And the tone is really a combination of compression, drive, reverb, and delay. If you get a nice mix between those four things, your sound is going to be nice and tightly compressed. It's going to have some of that bite on the tone so that it can cut through the mix. That's your drive. It's going to have some delay and some reverb as well. So if I just take off my reverbs and delays here, then you can hear, that's kind of my dry sound. And if I put on a track like this, can hear it's a bit too dry. But if I put my wet effects on, then that makes all the difference. That part now sits in the mix. And that's the point I'd like you to take away from this. Try and get your tone to be something that is going to sit in the mix. Because when you get a tone that works well on its own, that's great. And I might get a tone like this. I have a lot of fun with this one. But that tone is not going to sit in the mix when I have to play a song like the one that I just played. So for that reason, I want to encourage you guys to try and get a tone that's really going to sit in the mix for when you are playing on a Sunday. So that's point number one. If you've got a tone that you like, a tone that you can trust, then that's job one. The second thing is getting your technique to a place where you can also trust your technique. So you want to trust your tone, you want to get to a place where you can trust your technique. Like, for example, earlier I played this. So I'm picking all 6 strings, but you're only hearing 3 of them. So I'm using string muting, right? Or if I needed to play, I think, what's the other song we did the other day? I want to make sure that I can hit all of those notes with, that's all downstrokes with my picking, but it comes down to technique, whether it's your picking, whether it is string muting, maybe it's something like hybrid picking. It's hybrid picking, so I'm using both my pick and my middle finger there to kind of get those chords to come out. Whatever you're playing, make sure that you're working on your technique during the week so that when Sunday comes, you are in a position and you can just focus on the moment. Because if your technique is not going to be at a level that you can trust it, you're going to be quite, I was going to say sweating bullets. It's not probably accurate for a church situation, because it's not like you're going to be so stressed, but you are not going to be in a relaxed and a peaceful state, because you're going to be worried about, what if I make a mistake? What if I go for these big strums and I hit some strings that shouldn't ring and it's not going to sound good, and whatever the case may be. That is thinking. And the more you think, the harder it is for you to enter into that state of flow. And that is really the kind of state that I strive for. And strive is probably not the right word to use there, but it's the state I aim for when we are playing worship. And that is to reach a state of flow where I don't have to think too much. I can just show up and play. Because if I stop thinking and I can just go ahead and find that rhythm of flow, then what's going to happen is I come up with way more creative parts, because my brain doesn't think, number one. It doesn't edit on the fly. It just allows me to just play. Now, of course, it takes practice to kind of get your technique to a level where you can trust it. And you've got tones dialed in that you know is going to sound well. And it's going to sound good and it's going to sit in the mix. So whenever we spoke about tone now, or we spoke about technique, it definitely has to serve the purpose on a Sunday. It has to sit in the mix. It has to work with the songs. And it kind of has to fulfill that purpose. Now, the third thing that I'll talk about today is constraints. And constraints is another thing that breeds creativity. We are talking about creative parts. So we started by talking about, have you got a tone that is inspiring, that's going to help you to create? Even just your tone creates these sounds, creative parts. Your technique is going to allow you to play the parts without worrying that you're going to make a mistake or it's not going to sound good. And then thirdly and finally is constraints. So what do I mean by constraints? That's really where we're going to be spending the bulk of our time today. But constraints simply means you don't want to think about the whole neck in all keys, in all positions, and all of that. It's too much that you have to think about. You want to kind of give yourself a constraint in the sense of like, I am just going to focus on our biggest thing that we teach at Worship Guitar Skills is 4-2 voicings. What does that mean? It just means I can play a progression on the 4th and 2nd string. So if your constraint is I am only going to play chord shapes, these 3-4-2 chord shapes that we teach, it's basically 3 shapes. Let's go to my second camera, and I'll just need to fix something there so you guys get a better view on that. That should do the trick like that. There we go. So if I just play, and we can grab a progression here shortly. Let's do we'll do 1-6-4-5 or 1-4-6-5 rather. C 1-4-6 and 5, or 1-4-6-5, or 1-4-6-5. You can do a lot of stuff by giving yourself that constraint. All right, I'm going to show you how that can work shortly. So that is the first way in which you can get a constraint to work for you. Say to yourself, you're going to use one type of voicing. Maybe instead of this, you say, okay, great, I'm just going to use triads. So if I use triads to play that same progression, 1, 4, six, and 5. Or maybe 1, 4, 6, and then 5. Then if you're constraining yourself in that regard just to triads, it doesn't mean you're only going to use triads on a Sunday, but when you are focused just on triads, or in the first example, just on dyads, you can start coming up with things that is going to be creative, because now you can stop worrying about everything else that you can do as well. You're not thinking about octaves, you're not thinking about power chords, you're not thinking about seventh chords, you're not thinking about single notes, you're just focused on triads in that regard. Or maybe you want to play triads, but you want to play them on one string only. So then instead of playing C like this, you can go F, A minor, G. So that's a constraint of one string only. So I've just given you 3 constraints there. I'm going to give you 2 more, and then I'm going to demonstrate all 5 of them. The second constraint is like, let's say to myself, all right, I'm only going to play on strings 6 and 3. So I'm going to play these 10th voicings. So 6. C, you give yourself just those strings to play on. Or finally, octaves. C, F, A minor, G, C, F, A minor, G. Those are octaves. So I've just demonstrated 5 different types of chord approaches. I said 4-2 voicings, I said triads, single string, tenths, which is on the string 6 and 3, and then octaves, which is on strings 5 and 3. So I can now actually sit with these and try and come up with different guitar parts, which is what I'm going to do for you shortly. And then afterwards, we'll answer some questions and we will also demo some tones, and I've got some updates and some news for you guys. So let's go to the second camera here. If you have any questions around any of these things, let me know. So as a recap, we've got our tone dialed in, we've got technique that we can trust, and number 3, we've got some constraints that we can use to give us some freedom and flexibility on the guitar. So let's play this progression. It's going to be 1, 4, 6, 5 in the key of C. Let's do a quick tuning here. And then I'm going to use, I'll call out what I'm going to be using. It's going to start with the dyads, which is the 2 notes. Then it's going to go to the triads, which will be 3 notes. Then it's going to go to single string, which is 1 note. And then it's going to go to tenths, which is 2 notes with a low string and the 3rd string. And then octaves, which is string 5 and 3. Okay, let's check it out. Here we go. All right, here we go. 6, 4, 2 notes only. A minor. And now G. Let's go triads. A minor. G. Now I want to do the single note, C. F. A minor. I want to do the tenths. And if there's more track left, I'll do the octaves. So the track stops there, but let's start it again for the octaves. Now maybe do some picking, right? So there, I just showed you 5 different approaches, which had to do with dyads, the notes chords on the 4th and 2nd strings. Then I showed you triads, 3 notes on strings 1, 2, and 3. I showed you single notes just on the G string. I showed you these tenths on strings 6 and 3. And I showed you the octaves. So 5 totally different approaches, but if I sit with those, and obviously I do kind of play through them really quickly, but if I sit through them, then I can find connections I would not have seen if I could focus on anything I wanted. Because I zoom in, I narrow my focus for that part just to work on that specific chord type. I can come up with some really different insights and different connections as it relates to what I'm able to play there. So let me know if this makes sense as it relates to getting your tone dialed in, getting your technique to a point where you can trust it, whether it's strumming, whether it's picking, whether it's string muting, whether it's articulation. And then finally, using the concept of constraints to narrow your focus and therefore give you the opportunity to make some new connections that you might not have noticed before. Let me know if you can see yourself using that to try and help you kind of get up and running and up to speed with regards to what it actually takes to just, explore on the guitar. And then we can have some fun talking about a couple of additional things. I'm happy to demonstrate some stuff for you as well. But that is kind of the main gist of the lesson that I wanted to show you guys over there as it relates to coming up with creative parts, getting your tone dialed in, getting your technique sorted, and then we're using the power of constraints to kind of give you some options and opportunities over there. While we wait for a couple of comments to come in, I know we've got a bit of a delay with our live stream. I've got some updates for you guys and some fun stuff to share as well. And if you are new here with our live streams and you've not yet done our Worship Guitar Challenge, I would invite you to go and check that out at worshipguitarchallenge.com. What happens with our challenge, it's a 7-day challenge. It only costs $7. You get lifetime access to the challenge. It's not like our previous one where we limited the pages for 24 hours because we wanted you to consume the content. This is available to you for life. It's only $7. You get a bunch of backing tracks, you get a bunch of lessons, you get a bunch of awesome things together with the challenge. We've just had some people go through the challenge and also join us in the Worship Guitar Skills Academy. So welcome to all of those new members. Look out for an email from me as well. Really great to see you guys. But the Worship Guitar Challenge is 7 days. Day 1, we learn those 4/2 voicings. So I showed you. Day 2, I give you some cool picking patterns. Day 3, some cool strumming patterns. Day 4, we use articulation to bring in melody with your chords. Day 5 is all about tone. And then I think day 6 is about playing leads. And then day 7 is about putting together practice sessions. So there's worshipguitarchallenge.com if you guys have not yet done that, because that's kind of our crash course in worship guitar. So feel free to go and check that out. And then Richard Meyer is giving us the thumbs up saying, yep, that's all useful and helpful, which is great. And then we've got Yes Money tuning in from Puerto Rico saying, hola. Hey, Yes Money, great to see you. And then Keith is saying, great lesson, thanks so much. We'll definitely use that. That's awesome. And thank you so much, Yes Money. I appreciate that. That is very kind of you. All right. So we love the folks at Jet Pedals, specifically because they make pedals specific for worship guitar players. And I'm going to do some videos about this because lately we've been getting some comments and people are saying to us there is no such thing as worship guitar. The fact that there's techniques or chords specific to worship guitar, it doesn't exist. And we've been getting a little bit of kickback around that. And I'd love to respond to that just with a couple of approaches as it relates to what it is. Because on the one hand, yes, playing guitar is guitar. There's a strum is a strum, a pick is a pick, whatever the case may be. Whether you play blues, jazz, or worship, guitar technique is guitar technique, yes. But there are certain techniques that you will use in a worship setting that you won't use in a rock setting or a blues setting. Or even if you take sweep picking, that is something you'll use if you play neoclassical music, but if you play old school blues, you're not going to use those techniques. So there's definitely chords or progressions or voicings that would fit in one style that would not fit in another style. So in that regard, worship guitar is just a different style. Yes, it's the same 12 notes, right? It's the same 12 notes, it's the same techniques, but it's a different style. Number one. Number two, the reason for worship is not like if you go to a gig to be entertained. We don't go to church to be entertained by the worship team. We go to church because, number one, the Bible says we should not forsake the gathering of the saints. Number two, we come together in unity to minister to the Lord and to express our love and adoration to God, because the word says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So we do that through worship on the Sundays corporately together. And then obviously throughout the week, we should keep engaging in worship. We treat everything, our work as worship. We do all those things on an ongoing basis. But the gathering on a Sunday is when we get together to play worship and to, for us as worship musicians, kind of fulfilling that role as the Levites in modern day times, is to create an environment that's conducive for the congregation to engage and to step into that moment and to put their eyes upon Jesus and really focus on all those awesome things. So that is why we do what we do. And coming back to the Jet Pedals connection is they understand that worship guitar tone is different from what you would do if you have a jazz gig or a rock gig or a blues gig or a country gig or a bluegrass gig or whatever. You need specific kinds of sounds that fit in that worship situation. So we love the folks at Jet Pedals. Junior and Jamie, they really get it. And we're going to be demoing the new Revelation Reverb and also the Eternity Delay. We're going to be going through some cool tones and showing you guys what they put together there. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a bit of a sneak peek on these pedals. We'll do a proper deep dive on these and show you some of that. I just kind of got lost for 2 hours or so just jamming through these and checking out all the different presets. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of a taster today, and then look out for the full videos going on that. But while we've got some questions coming in, let me address those while it's fresh what I've just played, and then we'll end off with a little bit of a sneak peek on the Jet pedal. So Richard Meyer says, amen, brother. And Terry says, thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys for the comments. It's great hearing from you. So keep them coming. We love hearing from you guys. So for whatever reason that comment got cut off over there, let me just fix that real quick for us, and then we can answer this question. So it says, hi Charles, can you go over your right hand strumming technique? It seems like you strum with your arm and have total control versus me only strumming from the wrist. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Let's see. I'll do a close-up and then see if that gives you a good view on the arm, and I could maybe just move a little bit to the right here as well. So I don't have any delay on here now, so if I just were to play, that's kind of my default strumming. So if I put my delay and my reverb on, I'll show you guys on the other pedal shortly. But if I do this progression, so there's the progression going. So my hand can kind of just start going. All right, check this out. Here we go. So or even single notes, right? So that's kind of a view just if I were just to do some strumming. So I definitely use my arm like this more, because if it's just a wrist, I can get rid of my delays and reverbs. If it's just a wrist, even that sound is too dirty. Let's see if I got a clean sound available here. So if you were to play funk guitar, like from the 70s and disco era funk music, so or even then that's kind of more like that disco style. So that's not the kind of strumming that I use in the worship setting. I like to go the more with my forearm, because it allows me to generate a little bit more velocity. So sometimes it'll be a small movement, other times it'll be a bigger movement. And then I also like to kind of break my guitar up. So you can hear the two different notes. If I have a delay on that, then I can do, so. Breaking your strings up in thinking of it like a drum. So then you've got your top three and your bottom three. So you can come up with some really cool stuff. Or even if I play something like I did earlier. I like to create some energy there, because if I just pick that, okay, I'll just get the rhythm right there. So if I just pick it, it can work, but I like the energy that you get when you strum it. It's a bit dirty like that now, but so you can hear when I do it like that, I get those ghost notes. These kind of hits, which I don't get if I just play. But if I play. So I like that. And why is that? Well, stylistically, I prefer that. But also, in a one guitar band, that energy is important. And why is that? Well, if everybody on it has to be authentic, it has to be natural, and I'm not saying you must fabricate any of this. But if everybody on stage is just kind of standing really still and stiff, and their eyes are kind of stuck into a chart or the songs, then what happens is it's, you know, the emotion is not being conveyed. So I'm not saying you must jump up and down and go crazy and fabricate that. That is totally not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you want your playing to give off an energy. Why is that? Because if we really look at what God did for us, what is available to us, and the freedom that we have to come together corporately and worship God, that should make us like really excited, not fabricated. It should be authentic. But from me as a guitar player, I think if I can have some of that energy in my playing, it might activate somebody in the congregation who's maybe a little bit passive, and it might say, wow, okay, cool, I am also going to engage in this, and I'm not going to be a passive bystander. So for that, I like to do the strumming with a loose forearm, and I like to, even when I play single note lines, strum it so I can get some of those ghost notes going. So I hope that makes sense. If you have a follow-up question, feel free to ask. And James, thank you so much for that. Really great to hear. And we've got Rudy from Jakarta in Indonesia also saying thank you. So welcome. Brian says, I just jumped on Shoal. Something I consider is the mood of the song, not playing heavy metal riffs on a slow worship song type of thing, just matching the vibe, letting the music dictate what I play. 100%, yeah. You don't want to play something that's going to be out of place. Because why is that? Well, it might take somebody out of that worship moment, because now you just, even if you played some really cool, amazing lick, if it's not going to fit, like Brian is saying, the vibe of the song, someone might now stop focusing on singing the lyrics and focusing on God, and they must say, wow, what was that cool guitar lick? Now it turns into a concert. So we don't want to do that, and we don't want to play stuff that's not going to fit the song, or like get a tone that is going to not work with either your playing or with the song. So we are there to serve. And just think about this, guys. What is the Bible? People always talk about the upside down kingdom. It's better to give than it is to receive, right? He who loses his life for my sake will find it. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. It's Jesus was born in a manger. he rode into town on a donkey. It's all these upside down things within the kingdom that is very different when it's in a worldly space. So in a worldly environment, we go to a gig to go and be amazed by the guitar player, but we don't go to church to go and look at guitar players. We go to church to worship, to listen to the word, to fellowship. So I think what Brian is saying there is 100% right. We need to be serving the song, and that's the upside down component. We are there to serve, not to have people kind of look at us and our skills and so forth. So 100%. Prayerfully consider what you are playing and what your contribution to that might be, because your contribution might look different to mine, might look different to Brian's. So that's very important to consider. And then Larry is saying, regarding constraints, I missed one. So we had the dyad voicings, which was the first one. Just 2 notes at a time. Then we had triads as the second one, which is 3 notes. That was the second constraint. The third one was single string, where you just play, obviously, single string. The fourth one, I played the 10th, which was on string 6 and 5. That was the fourth one. And then the fifth one was octaves. So octaves. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 octaves. That was the fifth one in terms of the chord type, Larry. So just shoot me a message, and then I'm happy to answer more of that for you in the forum as well. Larry is one of our newly joined WGS Academy members, so feel free to ask me about that. And then Enoch is saying, can you play the Hallelujah song in full? I definitely can. We do have a version that I did a while back, so I don't know if I can find that quite easily right now on the stream, but I'll definitely do a version of that. But that's the one thing that I also like about that song. Like, if you just look at the, I can go to the second camera here. The melody on its own looks like that. But then I like to put the chords in with that. So those same 4/2 chords that we just mentioned for Larry. Section. So I'll do a full rendition of that at some point, so I'll definitely do that. It's one of my favorite worship songs, Agnes Day. So I really love that one. And Larry, you're welcome. Yeah, just give me a shout in the forum there. Definitely can help you unpack more of that. 100%. All right. If anybody else has any other questions, let me know. And then I thought I'd just kind of give you guys a quick view. Or not a view so much, because we'll get that set up with another camera. But yeah, I have the Revelation Reverb. So really awesome sounding reverbs. I'll cycle through some of these presets. Like this one, I'll just play the reverb sound on its own, so you can just, and then I'm gonna mix it in. Listen to this. Obviously that sounds strange because it's just reverb, but listen when I'm mixing my guitar sound. It's such an awesome sounding reverb. Here's another patch. And this one I also like. I'll just give it to you, the reverb only. And listen to this, and then I'll mix in my guitar sound so you can hear it together. Bring in the guitar. Really love that patch. Here's another one. Cleaned up a lot. And here's one more. As you can see, you get all of these different sounds from the single pedal right here. And then also we have the eternity delay. A lot of fun tones over there. I'm just getting familiar with these pedals and all the different settings. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of a couple of settings as I switch through those patches. And presets, we'll do a detailed video around that, which will be coming out in the form of shorts on our Instagram. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you check us out, Worship Guitar Skills on Instagram. We're posting a lot more over there. And then obviously our longer form content over here. So we'll be doing breakdowns of those pedals in the upcoming sessions as well. So if you want to learn more about and have a structured way of where to start, we definitely recommend worshipguitarchallenge.com. 7 days, $7 only, and then you get a couple of cool bonuses. You get the content, the teaching, and you get access to that for life. You can go ahead and check that out, where I break down all of these basic principles that you can then go and use to compose some modern worship guitar parts for yourself. If anybody else has a final question, I'd be happy to answer that. Kenan is saying the pedals are sounding epic, and he's 100% right. So some super cool settings in there. And what's really amazing is it's like, if you look at it, it's like single unit pedals, right? It's not a big box. It's a single box, but within there you've got so many different options, and it's definitely going to become one of my favorite things to jam with. Specifically, some of these. I love this one reverb. This one just sounds amazing. And then when you just hear the reverb on its own, and then as you then slowly bring in your actual guitar sound, you can actually hear what your effect sounds like on its own, and then from there you can go and really dial in some awesome sounds and throw some delays on top of that. Alright, so we got an awesome detailed video coming for you on that, and it'll be useful in terms of just learning about delay and reverb as an effect as well, because that's the first thing that we started today with. Is when it comes to playing creatively, make sure your tone is dialed in, that it can sit in a mix, make sure your technique is in a level where you can trust it and you can really get the guitar to sound good by the way that you're striking it with confidence. And then finally, using the power of constraints, specifically as it relates to voicings, but you can also do that for rhythms or anything else, and then use that to come up with some awesome parts. All right, guys, it was really awesome hanging out with you today. These hours always go so fast. It's the fastest time ever goes for me when we play guitar, talk about worship and Jesus on these live streams. And the reason why we do all this, so it just shows that we're having a good time when time flies by so quickly. So thanks so much for all the support, for all the comments, for all the views, for all the reach outs, for all the folks joined us in the WJS Academy. It's such an honor and a privilege to be on this journey with you, and we are here to serve you guys, to help you maximize your potential, your worship guitar skills, to take that to the next level. We've got tons of material here right here on YouTube. You can sink your teeth into that, and we've got a bunch of other stuff. In any way, shape, or form, we can help you out. Reach out anytime in the comments. We read and reply to all of them. And it's been an honor and a privilege to spend another hour with you. Have an awesome weekend, and I shall see you guys back next week, which is going to be at a different time. It's going to be the Australian-friendly time. So be on the lookout for that. We'll shoot out an email. And Vicky, wonderful. Vicky did the challenge recently. So Vicky, great to see you on the stream as well. Welcome as always. We've got a little bit of a delay, so I might miss a comment or two or a question or so, but been great hanging out, and I shall look forward to seeing you guys back here again next week when we go ahead and talk about more worship guitar. And Larry is we'll end with your comment, and Larry says, I feel at home here. Thanks. That's awesome. We love to hear that, and thank you so much for sharing that feedback, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Much love. Bye-bye.